Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everybody that has been watching the past several days on just my thoughts and interest of the Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rubin. A really cool book given to me by my father for Christmas, and then I was putting it down, not really. I read it for a little bit, I loved it, and then all of a sudden just got distracted, and now I've been picking it up this past week because my wife had a vacation. She had some time off, so we went out and spent some time with the family, and it allowed me to kind of just unwind and tap back into reading and understanding. Like, this is something that reading is something that I think we all take for granted a little bit. I definitely feel like we don't put priority on it. I wouldn't say everybody, me. I don't put priority on it as much as I used to. Back maybe 5 years ago, I used to read a lot more. Maybe I would try to read maybe 4 books a year. Nothing crazy, just something that felt that it was informative and helped me on my journey. And it was almost always some kind of like self-help book of like awareness or how to like train your mind. And every time I get into these reading phases, I'm always like, yeah, I'm gonna read this many books a year, and I'm gonna get back to it. And you know how we are as people. Yeah, I mean, that's just a part of the journey. We shouldn't feel bad for not always reading. I think it's important to remind yourself to work on yourself more than anything. Like, just working on yourself. It's like working out, which I've been going back and doing because I was slacking. I was slacking on everything, but I was slacking on my reading, slacking on my working out in the last two months. So picking those things back up, because those are good habits to form. And pay attention to yourself and how you think and feel, and developing that habit. Because I do believe when I read and when I'm praying and when I'm taking care of myself, I function better, I react better, I perform better, I'm more artistically focused. So that's why I'm doing this, and I'm sharing these thoughts with you. So happy Memorial Day, and thanks again for watching. Today I just took away 2 chapters, 2 inserts, because again, they had so much in there on the second one that I felt like I would just blab on forever. I'm almost at page 200. I'm at 191 after today, so I'm getting there. Got about 160 some pages left, so chipping away. Point of view. He talks about the goal of an art isn't to obtain perfection. The goal is to share who we are and how we see the world, like our point of view as artists. Artists allow us to see what we're unable to see and somehow already know. It may be a view of the world singularly different from our own, or one so close it seems miraculous, as if the artist is looking through our own eyes. In either case, the artist's perception reminds us of who we are and who we can be. He goes on to say that he quotes Carl Rogers saying, "The person is the universal. The personal is what makes art matter." I'll repeat that again. The personal is the universal. The personal is what makes art matter. Our point of view, not our drawing skills or musical ability, can tell a story. Rick goes on to say, the reason we create art isn't with the intention of making something useful for someone else. We create to express who we are and where we are on our journey. Who we are and where we are on our journey. When making art, we create a mirror in which someone may see their own hidden reflection. Before I move forward in that piece, those are things that the idea of like having your own point of view and expressing that, I think is something that you find maybe through time as you're creating. When I first started creating, I was just creating again solely to make something look cool. Like I just like making things look cool, or have good lighting, or cool camera movements. Wasn't really thinking too much about like how does this say who I am. I would make pieces that creatively satisfied me, just like stupid little fun things that I shot with my friends or with Gabby, my wife, and just made things. Never really thought about what my end goal was. Wasn't expecting much out of it, but just creating. And some of those pieces I would put my point of view, and a lot of them were always about motivation and motivating yourself and understanding like you can do this. And it was coming from a very raw place in me, where at that time I felt as if I was the only believer in myself. And I've said this in the past about like the dark journey and what that's like to not be able to see your own journey, and to feel alone when creating, and to feel like you're putting all this effort in and then no one cares. I won't say that's how I feel now, but I would say that's how it feels in the very beginning. And so the point of view when creating art now for me is more apparent because I've lived more life, I've experienced more hardships, I've seen more failures, I've experienced more wins, I've experienced more positivity in the failure. So I have a different perspective now in my life, a different point of view of what it's like to work for something and to obtain it. And then my other point of view is maybe knowing that my art, the thing that I'm good at, is having a direct impact on the world, whether I know it or not. And I'll say this to anybody out there creating, and I say this to people around me, that we got to remember as artists, as people that create, that we are been given a gift from God. That I think our purpose on earth is to help others, and to see, and to maybe not hurt yourself in that process, but help others understand as well. And remember that our gifts were made to give to another person. So my insights, my thoughts, my ability to create, I learned it from another person, so they helped me, and now I'm doing the same by putting that energy back into the world. We have a higher purpose for our gifts, so we should be a little bit more aware of like what we're creating and how it can impact people. And I think, like he said before in his book, when we talked about crafting and momentum in his books about, when you're creating, you're in a certain part of your journey and you're expressing certain feelings along that way, and how you feel in that moment and what that's like for you as the artist in that moment. So you may have, and what I'm saying is you could create negative things in the world that promote negativity, things that pull us away from God, things that pull us away from what is righteous. In that moment, we could be creating things like that unknowingly, because it's just something, I put it as like you're just wanting to make fun things, and you don't realize sometimes those fun things that you're creating are pulling you away from what is positive energy. And I'll say positive energy versus, really the core of it is like, if it's pulling us away from God, pulling us away from what's right, we should just kind of understand that we have a responsibility as artists to help the world. So if we're creating a lot of negative energy, but yet we're not creating any positive energy, people are not seeing both sides of who we are. People can be very dark. People can have pain and express that pain. People can have a side of them that wants to enjoy the temptations of life. So we express that side of us, all our weaknesses. But we also need to express our strengths, and then we need to express the positives of like uplifting. So I definitely think there's a balance, and it's okay to express the negative side. And I think it's okay. We shouldn't feel bad for expressing the negative side. Because that is part of it. That's how we connect with each other. If we're thinking we like to have fun, party, drink, sex, drugs, alcohol, violence, like if we enjoy those things, it's probably a very human thing to experience, and that's what connects us. But we also have to remember we are connected by God, and we're connected by the universe. We're connected by positivity. So we need to radiate that version of ourselves as well to show that it's okay to express that side of ourselves and not hold it back. So yeah, the point of views. We have to be careful about how much of our point of view we're sharing, I think, because we're influencing others. Much of art, he goes on in that chapter, it says, much of art's greatness is felt on a gut level. Your self-expression allows the audience to have their own self-expression. So we set aside such concerns about whether our work will be comprehended. These thoughts can only cause interference for both the art and the audience. Most people are interested in being told what to think or feel. I'll take that back. I misquoted that. Most people aren't interested in being told what to think or feel. Great art is created through freedom of self-expression and received with freedom of individual interpretation. Great art opens a conversation rather than closing it, and often this conversation is started by accident. Yeah, I think his thought of the gut feeling, or that gut level of you're creating in a moment, and like whether it's right or wrong to you in the moment, you want to create it because you feel like some kind of need to do it. So yeah, I mean, that's what I talk about. You create you can create negative energy unknowingly, not trying to inspire people to be negative, but just knowing that that's your way of getting out maybe some pain, and you express it through maybe what others perceive as negative energy, whereas you and I might feel like we're expressing it as getting it out of our system, or like making sure that people. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, whenever I create anything that feels maybe minorly depressive or something, I'm not doing it to make other people depressed. I'm doing it because I just feel like I want to say the things that I'm saying. I want to get it out of my system because that's how I'm feeling right now. And then same thing right now, as I'm positive, as I'm creating positive content, I'm feeling the need to express my confidence building, my reassurance that of who I am, and building myself up and helping others in the same moment. He goes on to say it's impossible to imitate another artist's point of view. You can only swim in the same waters. So feel free to copy the works that inspire you on the road to finding your own voice. It's a time-tested tradition. And I think, I don't know, I don't like to use the word copy. I hate the word copy because it sounds like we don't have our own identity. But I understand what he's trying to say is to be inspired by. I prefer the word inspired. Feel free to be inspired by the works that you see on the road to finding your own voice. I like being inspired more than to copy. I think you see something and you like the lighting or something, and you're trying to say, I want my lighting similar to that. You can't replicate something. There are people out there that do like replicating. Like if I relate to filmmaking, there are people that like will take a frame and literally reproduce the exact same frame. I know for us, the only time I've ever felt like I directly took something to make something that I was currently doing was Martin and Gina with Polo G. When we created that video, they wanted to be identical sets. They wanted to be as close as possible to what the show looked like, and so I watched almost every season of Martin to make sure I could understand to better understand the camera movement, some of the famous scenes, and how Martin would act. Obviously, we're not going to be able to copy it exactly, but we got pretty damn close because of the artists that we hired around us. The production designer Eloise was so on point with paying attention to detail. So in that regard, they wanted to do something that was almost a replication. And I will say, when I walked away from that experience, I felt damn, I could do anything at this point. We just literally showed that we could create a show, with the people around us, and it looks fucking awesome. So I will say, when I did that, it did feel very much like we are very talented people. So it was fun to do that, but I like being inspired more than I do trying to directly take from something. As creators and enthusiasts, we share and receive points of view in order to participate in and further this exchange. It's a symbiotic loop. The culture informs who you are, and who you are informs your work. Your work then feeds back to the culture. So ending the chapter with the idea of when he talks about being inspired or copying to find your own voice, it's more about you're looking at something that you relate to from another artist, and that's making you feel like this is who I am. Okay, yeah, I'm more related to someone that speaks this way, and I want to create something in a similar world, and you over years redefine it. So to those watching that are in the early stages of your voice, he's just letting you know that it's okay to do those things like copying. Don't feel bad about it, because you're trying to figure out who you are, and the only way to figure out who you are is by trying many versions of other things that have already been created and seeing, do you like that? Do you enjoy that version of yourself? And through time, you redefine it, and say, okay, now this is who I think I am. It's funny, I say I think I'm this person. As you discover who you are as an artist. And I'm still trying to define it. I'm trying to still find what. I think I'm trying to find my voice in my film. I think I'm a person that I know that I'm a person who wants to motivate others. I know I'm a person that loves film. I know that I'm a person that loves storytelling. I know that I'm a person that enjoys space, who enjoys supernatural, who enjoys genre style films because of the entertainment part of what that brings. I'm a person that can make a lot of mistakes and be in my own head and be down on myself because of all those mistakes. I'm a person that wants to help others. I'm a person that feels the need and want to follow their heart at all times. I know that that's who I am. And that I come with a very I'm doing my damnedest to do it with a pure heart and not be tempted by material items or financial gain in any way, because that's not how I think. I know that's not what is going to make me happy. So that needs to reign through. I say all that stuff to say that needs to reign through my work more often. And I don't think it has in my music videos. I think I've done a lot of cool things in music videos, but all those things that I'm saying, like I don't think I've expressed that enough through my musical works, mainly because the things that I'm creating is for the artists and their visions of their brand and who they are. And I do enjoy collaborating with all these artists that I work with. Not any particular one makes me feel like I don't enjoy it. It's more about the idea that I'm creating for others, and that's my gift I'm giving them. I'm allowing them to, their voice to speak through mine by creating what they want. At some point, you get into your career where you're like, I need to create for myself, and that's okay. It's not saying I don't enjoy what I've done so far. It's more about that doesn't bring me happiness truly. And when you listen to that internally, you know you got to do something more. You got to try to attempt. You got to attempt to do something for yourself and create for yourself, because that's probably where your happiness is lying. So I'm excited for that day. All right, so I'm gonna speed this chapter up. This chapter is called Breaking the Sameness, and he gives a few tips, and I'm not gonna go do all of them. You can look them up, but it's called Breaking the Sameness on page 183. And he says, before stepping in from the piece, it's worth finding a way to break the sameness and refresh the excitement in your work. Before stepping away from a piece, it's worth finding a way to break the sameness and refresh your excitement in your work, as if it's engaging with it the first time. So he gives some tips here. He gives 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tips on how to like break the sameness in your workflow if you feel stuck. And I will choose my top 3 that he chose out of those. And this kind of reminded me of like my feeling of what I just said, like the idea of like I want to create my own movie, and then the music videos are not inspiring me as much. And so I was like looking at this, I was like, damn, okay, I just got hit up. We just got hit up to do a couple of music videos like yesterday, and I was like, I'm gonna try to listen to my heart, like what to do, And so I want to find, if I do them, then I need to find real inspiration, because that's if you do work and you're not inspired by it, and if you work on something and you're not inspired by it, you don't care about it, man, it's gonna show, and you're gonna feel it. So the first one I like, he says, it's the very first tip. He says small steps. He's like, write just one line every day. By breaking down what seemed insurmountable into single lines, you reopen the creative channel and eventually begin composing entire songs. He was talking directly about songs, but he says composing entire songs again. But the way I saw that was more about like, even what I'm doing with these videos, just like every day making some kind of piece, unedited, like just talking. Don't worry about it. Don't care about like what happens, who sees it. Just small steps and just creating and just create and find that energy. So I think that's a really cool advice. Very, very simple and easy. He talks about changing the environment, which we talked about the other day when he was saying things that could hold you back. This is kind of funny because it kind of a little bit contradicts it a tad bit. He says here on page 139, thoughts and habits not conducive to your work. He says, I'm gonna find it. Thinking you can only do your best work in certain conditions. He says that. I'll say that. He says, he literally says, and that's quoted from it, thinking you can only do your best work in certain conditions. And then on page 184, he says change the environment, meaning like, if you're looking if we're looking for a performance of a different nature, it can help to change an element of the environment. Turning off the lights and playing in the dark can create a shift in consciousness and break the chain of sameness from performance to performance. Other shifts we experimented with included having a singer hold the microphone instead of standing in front of it, and recording early morning than the night, to access a greater degree of variation. One vocalist chose to hang upside down while singing. So, maybe it's that idea of like, if you're starting to have those, maybe that's what he means. Like, it felt a little bit contradictory from the things he said before, where it's like, when I read change the environment, I'm thinking put yourself in a whole nother position. He's kind of putting it as like, maybe do something a little different within your environment, how you record and stuff like that. So it feels a little bit, maybe I'm just taking that wrong, and I probably am. He also says blaming, thoughts on habits on not conducive to your work, blaming circumstances or other people for interfering with your process. So it's like, he's trying to give you solutions, I think. If you have those thoughts, then he's giving you solutions on like how to break that. Maybe that's what his take is. Which was just nice. Just don't say, don't do this. He's giving you thoughts on how to not do it. So, okay. There's another 3 that I'll mention, and I'll talk about. I'll talk about 2 of them. He says, I lied, I was going to say my top 3. This one's kind of hard because I have a lot of highlighted things and I do like them. So it's changing the stakes, inviting an audience, and limit the information. Changing the stakes, I'll just read you my highlighted words and you guys can tell me which ones you like the more. Changing the stakes. If a band imagines that this is the last time they'll play a particular song, they're likely to perform it differently than if it's just another take. So I like that idea. Like, if this was my last video to ever direct, like, how would I direct it? What would I talk about? He mentions invite the audience as another one that I like. Being observed changes how an artist acts, which I know is 100% true. When you're around other people, you step up your game. The goal is to find the specific parameters in each case that bring you out your best. The goal is to find the specific parameters in each case that bring out your best. It says most tend to be more focused with someone else present, which I 100% agree with. I know that even recently I had my buddy Ant come over when I was editing this commercial with Eric Fisher, and he was just sitting there, and usually I would not like it if someone was there while I was editing, if like they have nothing to, if I didn't already have that in mind that I wanted it, but he was wanting to just experience it. So by having him there, what I started to realize is, like, I started to utilize him in a way that felt conducive for both him and myself, where I would do something. I'm like, hey, do you like this more or this? Or do you like this or that? Or what do you think about this sound? And I would collaborate with him versus just me just doing it. And so I thought that was a really cool experience. So I think invite the audience is a really good one to, like, break up something, especially if you're having troubles with it. Limit the information is the last one, which I relate this more to, like, when you have to write a pitch or you're trying to get a job, when you're trying to write a treatment. They said the general principle is to be protective and limit people you're working with from experiencing things that could interfere with the creative process. Limit the information to the barest of sketches. If you want creators to bring out the best in themselves to something, give them the most freedom to create. So, like, I'm back and forth about that one. I think I like a healthy balance, and he kind of mentions that too also. Another part, it says, if you give a screenwriter a book, an outline, or a sentence to turn into a script, each will lead for a different screenplay. So yeah, if you give them a book and say, hey, turn this into a screenplay, give them an outline, turn to a screenplay, or a single sentence and turn to a screenplay, then it's going to be different. And that's what I was going to say. I've kind of become indifferent. I think it's just maybe it's like the feeling or the mood that I might be in, where I want more information, especially if an artist is hard to work with, or like, they have a specific taste. I now prefer to play that balance of client business relationship where, hey, I want to know as much as you can so I could get closer to what you want, and it's your brand, not my brand. And whenever I've given, man, there are so many times whenever I've given the artist 1,000% of who I am. I say 1,000 a lot, 100%. There's not 1,000%. Whenever I've given the artist 100% of who I am, and I've like really loved their song, gave them my idea of what I really do want to do, oftentimes it leads to their confusion, or maybe I didn't explain it enough, or they didn't like the direction because they think it should be something else. Even when I've been able to present it in a way where I think it looks like a great presentation, they still don't. They're like, well, we like it, but we really thought we'd go a different direction with this. And I hate that feeling of giving my energy to another person who said they want to work with me, and then they turn around and go do it with someone else. It feels slightly disrespectful in the way that they were searching for work, and they're not considering the fact that I am giving my time to them. So I'm giving myself to them by taking away, like putting off any music, putting off any responsibilities that I have in that moment, or things that I want to do to help them create this job, create this thing, and then they turn and they've taken my time from me. And as I speak about that now, it kind of like answers some of my feelings about when jobs come in nowadays. Instead of getting excited for a job, I'm like, do I want to give them my energy? And I think the whole idea of I'm kind of veering off course, but so far, before I get into that, limit the information thing, I'll go back to that. Actually, I'll finish my thought and I'll go back to it. I understand that my goal is I've already experienced what it's like to give people my time, give people my energy, give people my strength, and then for them to turn and disregard it hurts me, because I realize I just gave them all that thought and I didn't give myself that. So it always just, it just creates that cycle that I hate and I don't like. I shouldn't say hate. I don't like hurting myself. Going back to the limit the information, I think it's a balance. Again, sometimes you want more information as the creator. Other times you prefer not to. You might just be in the mood like, don't tell me anything. I just want to create and take a risk. But you do need some information when it comes to writing music videos. You need to know where the hell you're gonna do it. You need to know how much you're gonna do it for. You need to know if there is any creative notes from the artist, like they want to do something, and at least those three things. Deadline. Okay, I'll take it back. If you're creating a treatment for an artist, you need to know the budget first. What's the budget? Second, where you're gonna do it. Third, the turnaround time on your deliverables and deadlines. When do you need a script? When are you going to shoot it? When does it need to be delivered? If you can answer those things, you're in a better position. The last thing you need, if they have it, is creative notes from the artist. Is there any thoughts on where it should go? And they may not have any. But you could probably prompt them with some questions too. Is there any things that they've been recently seeing that they want their video to be like? There you go. Before I go, I want to say again, thank you so much for watching my content that I'm creating here. I'm not looking for comments. I'm not looking for views. I'm not looking for likes. I'm looking to share my energy to the world, and to you watching, so that you may take that and reflect on your own life, reflect on your own journey, because it is a long one, and this is like every day, like you got to make a decision what you're gonna do. So this is helping me get to the next stage of my life. I hope it helps you to your next stage. So until then, thank you so much. Till tomorrow. Happy Memorial Day. Go have some hot dogs and hamburgers. Don't have too many hot dogs because it's disgusting. maybe have like a steak. Don't eat too much meat. You're gonna have meat sweats. You're gonna be feeling like nasty. Don't get too drunk. Have a couple drinks. Don't get too drunk that you can't remember what you did. Because what's the point? What's the point then? Be safe, guys. Talk to you later.